we are doing a ride for Unit 57 for outpatients that go through chemo and get a bone marrow transplant. And we're raising funds for when they are when they get discharged out of the hospital, but they have to stay within the city limits, just to help them out financially through that 3 months.
Okay, so all the proceeds from this are actually going to benefit true, literal people and not going to some organization?
That's correct. So the money will go to the Alberta Cancer Foundation, and from there it'll go to the counselors at Unit 57 or the Tom Baker, and from there the counselors will divvy the money out to whoever requires it.
That's beautiful. Now, I've heard that some people have to come in from out of town and indeed go through severe financial struggles when they're combating cancer. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct. So a lot of the financial assistance ends when they become outpatients. So they're truly outpatients, but they have to stay within the city limits because they have to be within an hour of the hospital in case they get a fever or something goes wrong.
Hey, now, Chris, tell me, how did you come to know about Unit 57?
So my wife went through this. She was diagnosed a year and a half ago, and she has a friend that lives in Calgary. So we were very fortunate. She had a place to stay and she had a caregiver. But in going through this, I've seen a lot of people that didn't have that. So that's what this is about, to raise money for them.
Well, so this is actually born from a desire to help others and others only.
Yes, yes.
Well, you know what, that doesn't surprise me coming from the true biker community. And now, Chris, you are also co-owner of the Twin Cities Longview Saloon?
That is correct.
So I just want to thank you for having us here today. And can I give you a hug?
You may, and thank you for being here today.
Touched a little earlier on some of the tragedies that you've seen, that people don't know that after treatment, many of these patients have to stay in town or around the hospital, and this creates even more of a financial burden. Is that accurate?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, it starts even before they go to stem cell transplant. I mean, a lot of our patients, from the moment they're diagnosed with their with acute leukemia, are actually admitted to hospital that day and are staying in hospital for 4 to 6 weeks, and that's just with the first cycle of treatment. And it's especially burdensome for some of our patients who are actually from out of town, often a few hours away. They have to pay for parking, for gas expenses, for accommodations, for food, and that can be very stressful for them. And once they actually do make it to transplant, they're required to stay in hospital for a minimum of 100 days, and possibly longer if they're not doing well.
And healthcare does not cover this?
No, it does not, unfortunately. Yeah. So we'll allow passes, we say, for a few hours, but I mean, you can't really leave Calgary, or you have to stay close to the hospital. So if you're not from here, you got to stay somewhere. So unfortunately, it's quite expensive.
I do recall a case just last year who didn't actually want to tell me how financially strapped him and his wife were. They were also from rural Alberta, and they were having troubles even putting food on their table. Yeah, so it's tough to hear these stories. And we have a wonderful social worker, and from the generosity of people like who are donating today to this big cause, this great cause, I should say, it helps some of these people struggling financially.
Wow. You know, I'm actually at a loss for words. I can't imagine the trauma of facing a life-threatening disease and not being able to put food on your table, especially in this country. That makes me even more proud to be here. And how about you, Steph? Now, you've been a nurse at Unit 57 for how long?
Just under 8 years.
And I'm assuming you have seen some stories of your own?
I have, yeah. Too many, probably. But I do remember one instance before he was, I guess the day he was diagnosed, we gave him a call and he refused to come in until he could sell some of his furniture on Kijiji because he knew he had to pay for a hotel. Yeah.
I'm glad I have my glasses on. Mm-hmm. And how do you handle that as a nurse? How do you handle seeing this kind of human courage? Obviously, it takes a lot of heart to face off with a giant like cancer. But how do you deal with seeing the after effects and people struggling while they're trying to get well?
We have a great team that we work with, and the doctors and the nurses and our social worker and tons of people. We're always working together and trying to make it as good as we can. We do have some hostels, essentially, that we do rent out for a cheaper cause, but there's only a few, so when they're full, fortunately.
No room at the inn.
Yeah.
Wow. I want to thank you, Doc, and I want to thank you, Steph. Doc Monica and Nurse Steph. This fundraiser isn't only a ride, it's an event. The pig was roasted to perfection with all the fixins, and boy, were we hungry. Laughter and stories were shared all around me at the tables as strangers became friends united for a common cause. There's been a lot of talk about you today.
Yes, there has.
Now, Lori, you are Chris Goss's wife, and Chris was the originator of this ride and concert benefit.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was. Yep.
And how do you feel about that?
Awesome. It's. I thought when he wanted to do this, it's like a big undertaking, and but after what I've been through, I thought it was just a great thing to do because it certainly is something that's needed. And I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Now, Lori, you were actually a patient at Unit 57.
Yes, I was. And I have nothing but a wonderful thing to say about the unit and the blood marrow clinic. They were awesome staff and great care. But what we did notice is once you became an outpatient, it got a little difficult for people, especially that didn't live in the city. So that kind of what started this whole thing. So we're just happy to be able to help out some of those families.
So here you were going through your own journey and battle with cancer, and you and Chris noticed the burden other people were bearing financially?
Mm-hmm. Yes, actually, we met some other patients and they didn't live in the city, and we heard about them having to, quit their job, or some that were retired but still had to come to the city with no family or friends for support in the city and rent an apartment. And we thought, we were so fortunate that we didn't have to worry financially or the fact that I have family and friends in the city. So I was very blessed.
So now, Lori, first of all, I just want to say I'm overwhelmed and moved by the generosity and the volunteers that I'm seeing. I'm just speechless as to the turnout today. It's awesome. It's wonderful. We had a beautiful day, and just great to see
so much support.
Now, if you don't mind my asking, where are you in your journey with cancer?
I'm coming up to my very first anniversary of my transplant on July 7th, and been told I'm doing good. I'm not, as my doctor says, I'm not a rock star, but I'm doing well. You know,
You're a rock
So
star
that's
to
all I
me,
can
Lori.
ask for.
And how you feeling?
I feel pretty good. Today was a good day. You know, I'm not saying I don't have my bad days, but I was really happy that today turned out well and that I was able to enjoy it.
You know, so am I. Now, your stepdaughters
Yes.
are over here. Do you mind if I invite them on? Ladies. Okay, I'm going to get in the middle of you two.
Sure.
That way we can talk. Now, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name's Teresa, and I'm Chris's oldest daughter.
And,
I'm Krista, and I'm Chris's middle daughter.
ooh.
Gotta watch
No.
out for the middle one.
Just saying.
Always trouble.
I'm going to start with the middle daughter. Why don't you tell me, what has it been like watching your father go through this journey, you know, with this beautiful lady, and what does today mean to you?
Oh, it's hard to put it into words. When Lori got her diagnosis, it was devastating for everyone, and we were so afraid. And to see the great care that she got at Unit 57 was amazing. To see the community come together, and to have this happen and some good come of such a heart-wrenching situation. It's really great. I am so blown away by the support of the community. To see my dad work so hard for something he's so passionate about, it's been really amazing.
It's beautiful. Thank you. And how about you, Teresa?
Oh, it's hard to follow that.
But for you, what has this been?
Well, yeah, it's been a long road, but Lori's been so positive, and actually Lori was positive, and she's like right in the middle of it, and then, you know, she was a fighter right through it, and then that strength just came out to everyone else. So we worked a little bit with Dad to keep him in the fighting spirit in those first days, but you know, once Lori was out of the hospital and got her transplant, he just I think this idea was born, and he just grabbed onto that, and it's been he's been pretty focused on getting it here, and he's, you know, I think when he hears now cancer stories, right, it affects you in a whole different way when you know what it's like to go through it. So there's certainly lots of stories, right? So I feel like his compassion for the people that are going through it is huge. So yeah, so that's what's come. It's come a lot of tears, you know? But I'm just really proud of what's happened, and that, you know, that compassion goes a long way.
Yeah.
Right? Because people are going through it, and I think just that this money is going to go directly to families and directly to patients, because that's huge, right?
Yes.
And you know,
Yes, it is.
Lori and Dad and families that we know, that whether it's a meal, whether it's, you know, money, whether it's just that thought, right? Being in people's thoughts goes so far for healing.
You know, I've got to say that it blows my mind that people are facing down the giant of cancer and have to worry about where their next meal is coming from.
Yeah, definitely, right? Yeah.
So, little known fact is that my mom died of cancer. I'm really thankful that we didn't have to deal with that kind of financial burden, and I want to say I'm blown away by the courage of all of you. Lori, your whole family, your father, Twin Cities Hotel, Longview Saloon, everyone involved, and I just want to say God bless you and thank you.
Thank you.
Group hug. It is my belief that no one in this country should have to struggle financially while facing off against the giant of cancer. With a goal of $20,000, the inaugural ride for Unit 57 raised more than double that amount. Supporting this annual event is one way to directly help our fellow Albertans in their time of need.